Hello students, throughout the last year you are working hard to get that great success in your first public exam, and to get that great success WGT has come up with an innovative tool called as AMFM, a move towards full marks. Now you all know that in mathematics you can get full marks both in algebra as well as geometry. So now let us see what exactly we are supposed to do to get that great success in geometry. So here is a subject, that is your maths part 2, we are going to see now. What exactly we are going to do in these remaining days, let's see that. In these last few days we need to work smartly, and here is a roadmap for your smart study to get that great success. Hello students, now let us see the schedule for your part 2 maths, that is geometry. Every Monday you are going to start with the chapter number 1, that is first you read the theory of geometry chapter number 1 along with the theorems and the properties. So remember, the first part will be reading the theory and the theorems. Probably you will take around 30 minutes to go through all these points, and obviously start solving these examples, say approximately in next 2 hours. Now 2 things are very important students. Whatever problems we might have asked you to solve, it is not necessary that you should solve only these problems or just these problems. Whichever problems you find difficult, you should solve those problems also. And a point number 2, you know that some of you must be having old book and some of you may be having new book. So these numbers are according to the old book. So this is very important. So shortly I am going to discuss the other chapters also, but this is very important. So again repeating, these are the numbers according to the old book. Moreover, if you think that a particular problem is easy for me, you just leave it, and a particular problem which is not written here but is important and difficult for you, you can solve those problems. Okay? So going to the next part now. Now here you can easily see that I have not covered all the problems because the first chapter is a lengthy one. Now going to the next. On the next day you begin with the chapter number 2. Again a very lengthy chapter. So obviously start with reading the theory and the theorems. Probably this will take approximately 20 minutes. And once again start solving the examples mentioned here. Again repeating, these are the numbers according to the old book. Probably solving all these problems will take around 4 hours. Already we have said that this is a very lengthy chapter. Now, after completing your second chapter, go to the next one, which is your comparatively a very easy chapter, that is Geometry 3. So read the theory of it, say in approximately 10 minutes. And obviously start drawing the constructions for the chapter. For drawing these constructions, probably you will take 1 hour. And then start with the remaining part of your chapter 1. Read the theory as well as these theorems. So probably it will take 20 minutes. And start solving these examples. While solving these examples, again the same thing, that if you think that I can solve a particular problem, skip it. If you think that this problem, though it is not given, I should solve it, do solve that problem. Okay? Probably this will take this much time, that is around 2 hours. So, moving on to the next one. On the next day, start with your chapter number 4, that is your trigonometry. To read the theory of the same one, probably this will take around 10 minutes because maximum theory you have covered in your 9th standard itself. Start solving the examples mentioned here. Probably this will take around 2 hours 30 minutes to solve all these problems. After the chapter number 4, let us start with the last 2 chapters, that is your chapter number 5. So first, chapter number 5, read the theory, say in approximately 15 minutes. Start solving the examples mentioned here. This will probably take around 1.5 hours, that is 90 minutes. After this, start with the chapter number 6, again a lengthy chapter. Read the theory, that is nothing but maximum of them are your formulas, and then solve these problems. Probably this will take around another 1.5 hours. So, we are not finished with the chapter number 6 remaining. Remember, similar to your one of the previous chapters, we also have divided this chapter into 2 parts. Now, on Saturday, you are going to start solving the HOTS. So, on first Saturday, you solve the problems mentioned here. Approximately, it should take 2 hours and 30 minutes. On the next Saturday, start solving these examples. Obviously, the time will remain same, that is 2 hours and 30 minutes. Then start solving these examples from HOTS on the next Saturday, and it should take around 2 hours and 30 minutes. And on the last Saturday, solve these problems, and again it should take around 2 hours and 30 minutes. So this is the way you are going to cover your all the problems from geometry HOTS on 4 different Saturdays. So this is what is very important for all of you. Now, going to last day of week, that is Sunday. Every Sunday you need to read the theory of all the chapters. Remember students, every time all the teachers will keep on telling you that without theory you cannot solve the problems, whether it is algebra or geometry. Then the most important part, start reading the answer papers that you have solved throughout the year. Maybe it will be your unit test papers, semester papers, and by this time you must have also got your all the prelim papers. So you need to go through these papers so that you will come to know that what all mistakes you are going to make, or rather you are making commonly, and obviously you are not supposed to repeat those mistakes in your final exam. We have left one part, that is from your chapter number 6. So you are going to read the theory of chapter number 6 once again, say approximately in 15 minutes. Solve these examples mentioned here, say in next almost 1 hour and 45 minutes. So remember students, again I am repeating one important point. These problem numbers are according to your old books, and whichever problems you think that you feel that they are easy, no need to solve, skip those problems, and whichever problems you find difficult, do solve those problems. Okay? Now students, let us see how exactly we are going to study one day before your board exam. So, one day before your board exam, you start in a similar fashion the way you have studied for last few days. That is, read the theory of chapter number 1, say from 7 o'clock in the morning to 7:30, and then solve these examples mentioned here. Now once again dear students, these are the numbers from the old book. So you are going to solve these examples say from 7:30 to 10. After a break of 15 minutes, start studying for the another chapter. So once again start reading the theory of chapter number 3 say from 10:15 to 10:30, and then start constructing these examples say from 10:30 to 12:30. Now start with another chapter after your lunch break and a rest for an hour, say chapter number 2. Read the theory of chapter 2 say from 1:30 to 2, and once again solve these examples say from around 2 to 4:30, a lengthy chapter. Now after your tea break for 15 minutes, start with the next chapter, say chapter number 5. Once again read the theory of chapter number 5 say from 4:45 to 5 o'clock, and then solve these examples say from 5 to 7. Then after a break of around 45, say 30 to 45 minutes I will say, start with your most important chapter, that is your trigonometry. So read the theory of chapter number 4 from 7:30 to 8 and then start solving these examples say from 8 to 9. Now after this have your dinner say for 30 minutes and then for the day say bye bye, because you should have a good sleep before you go for your next day paper. So next day, good morning students. Now start studying from say 7 o'clock in the morning. Now your only one chapter is remaining. Read the theory of the chapter number 6, that is your all the formulas, say from 7 to 7:15 and try to cover these examples say from 7:15 to approximately 9 o'clock. Now this is the way you are going to complete your study. Now on the D day, that is your exam day, these are the points you must remember. So do not forget to draw the diagrams for each question. So whatever is a question, very rarely you will not have to draw the diagram, but for most of the problems you must draw the diagram. The next point is, in case of similarity, write the correspondence of the triangles very carefully. Now why I am saying so, you all know it. If your correspondence goes wrong, the entire problem will go wrong. The next one is, for the chapter construction, your required diagram should be dark and the rest of the lines or arcs should be comparatively light. Now what exactly I mean by this particular point? Let's take a simple example. If you are supposed to draw the circumcircle of a triangle, so your circumcircle should be dark, your triangle should be dark, but you all know to draw the circumcircle you need to draw minimum 2 perpendicular bisectors. So those 2 perpendicular bisectors should be comparatively very light. The next point is, keep your trigonometry table ready before the start of your paper. So usually you get your answer sheet at least 10 minutes before the final bell, and so in those 10 minutes keep your trigonometry table ready. So whenever you have to solve the problem based on trigonometry table, that is wherever you require the values of say sin 30, cos 45 and so on, you can immediately go through the table, so you need not have to draw it once again in between your 2 hours. Okay. Now the last point, this is very important students. While doing any calculation or calculations, especially your mensuration problem, try to avoid doing calculations in parts. Now what exactly I mean by this? Let's take a simple example. Suppose you want to perform this calculation. Okay. Now usually what you all do is, you take down all the numbers on the next line and then you start performing one calculation. That is, say you have performed the calculation between the number 3 and say number 192. I am not interested in the answer here for the time being at least. But after this step, you write down all the numbers that you have obtained in the step on the next line, and once again you start performing another calculation. Say the calculation between 7 and 1225. Now dear students, remember one thing, this is absolutely correct as far as the mathematics is concerned. But still I will suggest that don't do the calculations in this way. The reason is very simple. If you commit a mistake in this step, quite obviously that mistake is taken on the next line and your entire problem will go wrong. So as far as possible, this is your last step. So this is what I am saying, that don't try to solve the examples or your calculations in this way. Again repeating, this is not at all mathematically wrong. But as discussed earlier, if you commit a mistake in this step, obviously this will be on the next line, so also on the next line, so on and so forth. So there are chances that you will lose maximum marks. So instead of that, if I want to do this calculation, do all the calculations in one step and try to do it almost at the end of your problem. So if I want to perform some calculation between 3 and 192, do it here. Between 7 and 1225, do it here itself. Okay. So here I am performing the calculation between 7 and this 1225, and then between this 3 and this number 192. So remember this point, this is a very important point. And then obviously your answer is not going to change, but if you commit a mistake, there will be a huge problem. So with all these important points, you are going to remember all these points and face your exam very confidently. Now students, let us see the paper pattern and the time management. Now remember one thing, the paper pattern and the time management for both algebra as well as geometry is exactly the same. That is, your question number 1 is you have to solve 5 out of 6. Each question carries 1 mark, so total marks will be 5. Question number 2, you have to solve any 4 out of 6. Each carries 2 marks, so total 8. Question number 3, you have to solve any 3 out of 5. Each carries 3 marks, so total marks are 9. Question number 4, you have to solve any 2 out of 3. 4 marks for each question, so total marks are 8. And your last question, you have to again solve any 2 out of 3. Each carries 5 marks, so total 10 marks. That is the distribution of your 40 marks of your entire paper. Now if you see the instructions given, you can easily make out that you have to solve 16 questions out of the total 23 questions given. So this is your paper pattern for both algebra and geometry, and this is your marking scheme or your system. Now let us see the time management. Now the time management is once again almost the same for both the papers. That is, question number 1. Now remember, even though this is your question number 1 of 1 mark each, as far as your inertia is concerned, because when you start solving this first question, there will be some inertia, so you may not be able to write it fast, and rather I will suggest don't write in haste. Okay, so take approximately 12 to 15 minutes to solve your question number 1, around 15 to 20 minutes for question number 2, 12 to 15 minutes for question number 3, around 18 to 20 minutes for your next question, that is question number 4, and around 25 to 30 minutes for your question number 5. So this is again the approximate timing for your question wise distribution. So out of all these questions, along with the timing, you will take around 80 to 100 minutes to solve this entire paper, that is both algebra as well as geometry. And in the remaining 20 minutes, you are expected to check your entire answer sheet. So this is the distribution of your 120 minutes. Now, remember one thing, at around quarter to 11, you are in the exam hall. So as far as our maths is concerned, this is what you need to remember. That is, at 11 o'clock, you will get your question paper. Start immediately writing your answer sheet. So by 11:15, you should have finished with your question number 1. That is in first around 15 minutes. In next almost 20 minutes, you should have finished with your question number 2. In next 15 minutes, that is around 11:50, you should have finished your question number 3. It's 12 o'clock, so 1 hour is completed and we have almost finished 4 questions. Rather, you are solving your question number 4. By 12:10, you should have finished with your question number 4. And now the last question you have to attempt in next almost 25 to 30 minutes. So by this time, you have finished your entire paper, that is expected. In the remaining 20 minutes, check your paper. We have already discussed what exactly we mean by checking the paper. And at this time, it's your final bell and you are out of the exam hall. Now, remember students that including all the mathematicians are with you. So, don't let them down. All the best for your final exam. With our tool AIM-FM and all the tips mentioned here, we all are sure that you will get excellent marks not only in maths but in all the subjects. So wish you all the best.